While the Allies rolled across Europe with massive tank formations, believing armor would decide the war's outcome, the Germans were quietly perfecting something far more sinister. A weapon that would turn every foot soldier into a tank killer, capable of destroying vehicles worth thousands of times more than the simple tube they carried. But as you'll see, this technological triumph would reveal a bitter truth about the relationship between innovation and desperation. This is the story of the Panzerschreck, and how captured American technology became Germany's most feared infantry weapon. The turning point came in the scorching heat of the Tunisian desert in November 1942. German soldiers, battered and retreating from Allied advances, stumbled upon something that would change anti-tank warfare forever. Lying abandoned in the sand was an American M1 bazooka, still loaded and ready to fire. Wehrmacht engineers examining this captured weapon realized immediately that they were holding the future of infantry combat. Here was a solution to a problem that had plagued German forces since the war began. Their existing anti-tank weapons were either too cumbersome or too weak. The Pupschen system weighed a crushing 328 pounds and required multiple men just to move it across broken terrain. But this American contraption was different. One man could shoulder it, another could load it, and together they could punch through tank armor that had seemed invincible just moments before. The implications were staggering. Rather than simply copying what they had found, German engineers did what they did best. They made it bigger, more powerful, and more deadly. Within months, workshops across Germany were producing the Raketenpanzerbuchse 54, better known by its far more intimidating nickname, the Panzerschreck, or Tank Terror. The German version scaled up from the American 2.36-inch caliber to a massive 88mm. This wasn't just about making a bigger weapon. The larger caliber allowed them to use existing ammunition designs while creating a warhead that could penetrate 17 centimeters of solid steel armor. No Allied tank was safe. The weapon stretched 1.65 meters in length and weighed just over 21 pounds when empty. Each rocket added another 3.3 pounds, but for infantry who had previously faced tanks with nothing but grenades and desperate courage, this was a miraculous gift. The effective range reached 150 meters, giving crews a fighting chance to engage armor before machine guns could cut them down. But the Panzerschreck harbored a deadly secret that German engineers hadn't initially solved. Unlike the American bazooka, where the rocket motor burned out safely inside the tube, German rockets kept burning for 2 full meters after leaving the barrel. This created a terrifying hazard for anyone foolish enough to fire the weapon without protection. Early crews discovered this the hard way. The continuing rocket burn could sear exposed skin and ignite clothing. Gas masks became standard equipment, not for protection against chemical attacks, but to keep the operator's face from being burned off by his own weapon. Heavy gloves protected hands from the scorching heat, but also made the weapon clumsy to operate. The irony was bitter. German engineers had created a weapon that could destroy any tank on the battlefield, but it was almost as dangerous to its own crew as to the enemy. How many missions failed because crews fumbling with protective equipment missed their opportunity to fire? How many German soldiers died because they couldn't react fast enough while wearing a gas mask? Field solutions emerged from desperation. Troops began welding improvised shields to their weapons, crude but effective protection that allowed them to engage targets without burning themselves. By February 1944, German factories were producing standardized shields with replaceable glass viewing windows and spare panels stored right in the shield itself. Hidden inside the Panzerschreck's simple appearance lay a sophisticated piece of engineering that would influence weapon design for decades. German engineers had developed an electromagnetic firing system that eliminated the crude wire-wrapping connections of American rockets. When the trigger was pulled, a spring-loaded iron core shot backward through copper windings and magnetic assemblies, generating an electrical pulse that ignited the rocket motor. The rocket connected to the firing system through a simple plug, streamlining the loading process and reducing the chance of misfires in combat. This wasn't just clever engineering. It was a glimpse into the future of infantry weapons, developed in the middle of history's most devastating war, by engineers working under impossible pressures. The scale of Panzerschreck production reveals just how desperately Germany needed these weapons. By war's end, German factories had produced approximately 315,000 units, with 3/4 manufactured during 1944 alone. This wasn't just mass production, it was an industrial panic response to the endless streams of Allied tanks crushing German defensive lines. Standard allocation reached 83 weapons per infantry regiment by 1945. Elite tank destroyer units received priority, but the weapons spread throughout the German army as commanders realized what they were facing. For the first time since the war began, ordinary infantry possessed genuine tank-killing capability. Even as resources became scarce, German engineers continued refining the design. A shortened variant, the RPZB 54/1, removed 340mm from the rear to improve handling. Over 25,000 units received this conversion by March 1945, showing that innovation continued even as the Reich crumbled around the factories. The cold statistics of Eastern Front combat reveal a sobering truth about the relationship between technological sophistication and battlefield effectiveness. During the first 4 months of 1944, Panzerschreck teams achieved 88 confirmed tank kills but required 1,061 rounds to do it. That's more than 10 rounds for every successful kill. Compare this to the simpler, cheaper Panzerfaust, which achieved 165 kills using only 691 rounds. The disposable weapon that cost a fraction of the Panzerschreck's price was actually more effective at killing tanks. German engineers had created a technological marvel that was outperformed by a glorified pipe bomb. But numbers don't tell the whole story. Second Lieutenant David Render's encounter near Villers-Bocage in July 1944 shows what these statistics meant in human terms. A German Panzerschreck team engaged his Sherman tank at just 30 yards, close enough to guarantee a kill, but they missed their first shot, then their second. By the time Render's crew brought their guns to bear, the German position erupted in high explosive shells and machine gun fire. The team that had gotten so close to success died in seconds, their advanced weapon useless because war is ultimately decided by human beings under impossible stress. Western Allied casualty reports paint a grim picture of the Panzerschreck's battlefield impact. Tank kills attributed to these weapons peaked at over 20 monthly during July 1944 and April 1945, reaching a devastating 41 in the final days of fighting in May 1945. Each successful engagement represented not just a destroyed tank worth tens of thousands of dollars, but often an entire crew killed or wounded. The psychological impact was enormous. Allied tank crews never knew when a simple-looking German soldier might emerge from rubble or forest, carrying enough firepower to end their lives in an instant. The weapon proved devastatingly effective against American Sherman tanks, whose armor simply couldn't withstand the concentrated force of an 88mm shaped charge warhead. Soviet T-34s fared better, but were still vulnerable at operational ranges. Even heavily armored vehicles could be penetrated if crews could get close enough and keep their nerve long enough to aim properly. As Germany's situation became increasingly desperate, the Panzerschreck program revealed both the heights of German engineering and the depths of their resource crisis. Late in the war, manufacturers began experimenting with compressed cardboard construction. The idea that one of history's most effective anti-tank weapons might be built from cardboard shows just how far the Reich had fallen. Yet even as basic materials became unavailable, the sophisticated electromagnetic firing system continued in production. German engineers maintained advanced technical capabilities even while their country collapsed around them. It was a testament to their skill and a tragic symbol of misplaced priorities. The Panzerschreck established principles that continue influencing military development today. The electromagnetic firing system became standard for subsequent generations of rocket-propelled weapons. The modular design approach, allowing continuous battlefield improvements, shaped how modern militaries develop and refine weapon systems. But perhaps the weapon's most important legacy was proving that technological sophistication doesn't always equal battlefield effectiveness. The comparison between the complex Panzerschreck and the simple Panzerfaust demonstrated that sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. Modern special forces carry weapons that trace their lineage directly back to German innovations, developed under the pressure of total war. The balance between portability, firepower, and ease of use that German engineers achieved in 1943 remains the gold standard for infantry anti-tank weapons today. The Panzerschreck represents both a triumph of engineering and a tragedy of human cost. German engineers successfully transformed captured enemy technology into a weapon system that fundamentally altered the balance between infantry and armor. They created a tool that gave foot soldiers the power to destroy the most advanced machines of their era. But this technological success came at a price measured in blood. The weapon that made every German soldier a potential tank killer also made every German soldier a priority target. Allied forces learned to identify and eliminate Panzerschreck teams with ruthless efficiency, knowing that a single two-man crew could destroy an entire tank platoon if left unchecked. In the end, the Panzerschreck's story is the story of warfare itself. Brilliant innovation born from desperate necessity, technological triumph shadowed by human tragedy, and the eternal military truth that the best weapon in the world is only as effective as the soldiers who must use it under fire. Thanks for watching, and be sure to leave a like on the video if you made it this far. I've got a ton more of these in the works. I'll see you next time.